This isn't the same Norway anymore.
If you'd watched Norway in qualifying, you'd know how strong they have become.
Erling Haaland is not normal.
If you just need someone to be in the box and put the ball in the back of the net, I haven't seen someone like him.
Norway has become the team nobody wants to face. Brazil found that out the hard way.
Norway rowing their way through to the quarters. Brazil out early, yet again, in pretty inexplicable fashion.
Haaland stood over the ball with the calm of a man who had done it 1,000 times before.
And then you have the 2-0 goal where he's just standing there against Brazil, against Alisson, and he makes his 7th goal.
One touch, one unstoppable finish.
He came on. Haaland, he wants another one. He's got another one. How about that? Extraordinary.
5-time world champions, gone just like that. But here's the terrifying part. Norway didn't win because Haaland had one magical moment. They won because they completely believed they belonged there. So how does a country that spent decades watching World Cups from home suddenly become one of the favorites to win it all? The answer might be the biggest story of this entire tournament. Before 2026, Norway had been to exactly 3 World Cups: 1938, 1994, 1998. That's it, 3 appearances across almost 100 years of the tournament existing.
This is a big thing for us because it's been a whole generation, or maybe 2 generations since we were at the World Cup.
And out of all 3, the only thing anyone really remembers is one night in 1998 when Norway beat Brazil 2-1 in the group stage before Italy knocked them out in the round of 16. After that, nothing. 28 years without qualifying for a single major tournament. Not a World Cup, not a Euros, nothing. And it wasn't because Norway stopped producing good players, they had plenty. They just never got the stage to show it, tournament after tournament, passing them by, while the rest of Europe moved on without them. Then, qualifying for 2026 happened, and it didn't look like anything the Norway everyone remembered. They won every single game. 8 qualifiers, 8 wins, 37 goals scored, only 5 conceded.
Engage the brain. Norway won 8 out of 8.
Yep.
Right?
Comfortably.
24 points. Goals galore. And Italy.
That goals per game average, it's the best any European nation has ever put up in a single World Cup qualifying campaign. Not close, the best. Full stop. And the scorelines weren't quiet about it either. They put 4 past Italy in one match and 3 in another.
Group stage at the start, Italy had to be better than Norway, and Norway beat them home and away. It's as simple as that.
They hung 11 goals on Moldova in a single game. People started paying attention, and once they looked closer, one name kept showing up over and over. Haaland scored 16 goals in those 8 qualifying games, matching Robert Lewandowski's European qualifying record from 2018. But here's the thing, a lot of people still weren't convinced. The doubt was everywhere. Italy, sure, but Italy had problems of their own. Moldova? Come on, that's not a real test. The assumption was simple. Norway looked unstoppable against sides that were either declining or just outmatched, and nobody actually knew what would happen once the game started to matter, because waiting for them in the group stage was France, Senegal, and Iraq, a group that could expose everything if the qualifying form turned out to be a mirage. This was the moment everyone said would tell the real story. It didn't take long to get an answer. Norway opened with Iraq and won 4-1, and Haaland scored twice, one of them a tap-in.
But for him to be scoring those goals and the movement he did for the first one, the cross from Mother Wolfer, really good. And seeing Haaland in that area, the sort of poacher that he is, you know, it's a brilliant start for him.
The other, a goal that showed something different about him. He chased down a loose back pass, forced the goalkeeper into a rushed clearance, and the ball cannoned straight into the net, off the pressure alone.
Momentum there, a lot of the times.
They've been caught out there!
But I like the fact that he was on the front foot trying to stop the goalkeeper from having comfort in terms of the back passes.
That's not a poacher goal. That's a guy refusing to switch off for even 1 second of a match. Norway were already winning. Then came Senegal, 3-2. Another brace from Haaland. And this one told you more about the team than him. Norway broke forward. Odegaard held the ball just long enough, then slipped it through at exactly the right moment. And Haaland finished first time.
And immediately, Norway just break through, 4-on-2, you just see 4 Vikings going through on goal, and it was just easy for Odegaard to find Haaland. Koulibaly could not get to it, and a fabulous finish from Haaland. Obviously, Edouard Mendy gets a hand to it, but once again, the guy is just an absolute freak, Erling Haaland. He's a freak. What can you do?
That's a partnership working in real time, not a striker feeding off scraps. Then something strange happened. Against France, with qualification already locked up, Solbakken made 10 changes. 10!
What? Surprisingly and weirdly, I think, as well, changed 10 players and played very much the B team.
People criticized it hard at the time, said it looked like a team settling for second place instead of fighting for top spot.
To make 10 changes, I think, is absolutely ridiculous. In a competitive tournament like the World Cup, changing 10 of your starting 11 and calling it rotations a piss take.
Solbakken's answer was about the long game, about keeping legs fresh for the heat and the round still ahead. Whether you like the decision or not, it set up what came next.
They looked at the matchup, decided preparing for Ivory Coast and avoiding injuries to their stars mattered more than this game. Beating France was always going to be a tough task anyway, so why risk tiring or injuring starters? Rest them now. Focus on the next tough match.
Round of 32, Ivory Coast, and Norway went in with fresh players off the back of that rest. It wasn't pretty. Ivory Coast dominated long stretches and equalized against the run of play.
If you want to look at it from a Norwegian point of view, you go, who cares, we won.
Yeah.
I was watching that game thinking Ivory Coast are a better side.
But Solbakken turned to his bench, brought on Oscar Bob and Andreas Schjelderup, and within minutes, the game changed completely. Bob slipped a pass through to Patrick Berg. Berg drove into the box and cut it back, and Haaland was waiting to tap home the winner.
Patrick Berg, the captain of Bodø/Glimt that we've seen doing so well in the Champions League, he had a great game, and together with Bob, he created that goal, and it ended up being a tap-in for the big man, Erling Haaland.
Look at what that substitution pattern actually shows you. This isn't a team lumping the ball forward and hoping Haaland wins a header. It's a structure built specifically to manufacture the exact spaces he needs. And when it doesn't work in the first 80 minutes, they've got a plan B sitting on the bench, ready to create it in a different way. None of this happens by accident either. Norway have built more than 500 artificial pitches across the country, so harsh winters stopped being an excuse for kids losing months of development. They launched a national team school back in 2015, keeping talented players with their hometown clubs instead of pulling them away too early. And since 2011, over 17,000 grassroots coaches have gone through official training. That investment is why Odegaard controls tempo like he's been doing it for a decade, why Berg breaks up attacks before they start, why Nusa can turn a fullback inside out one-on-one. None of that happens with just talent, it happens with structure behind it. Which brings us to Brazil. Norway had 66% possession in that round of 16 match. Brazil just 34%. Nobody expects that. And it wasn't just about having the ball either, because Norway controlled the moments that actually decided the game. The first goal against Brazil, watch how Haaland gets there. He's almost strolling near the 6-yard box while Gabriel switches off for half a second. And the instant Schjelderup's cross comes in, Haaland explodes, rises above him, and heads it home.
It's been busy since the count. Haaland scores again!
Gabriel's top, but he has no answer for Erling Haaland. He has no answer for him from a speed point of view, from a physicality point of view, from an aerial point of view. Erling Haaland just crashed it, posterized the best aerial center back in the world. He made him look smaller than Mini-Me. The way he jumped over Gabriel and crashed it on him and scored that goal.
The second goal is even colder. He's standing still against Alisson. No space, no angle that should exist, and he just creates one out of nothing and drills it into the bottom corner. But this wasn't only Haaland's night. The goalkeeper stayed composed all game, coming up with save after save every time Brazil finally broke through, including a big stop on the penalty.
And hence, I feel a bit conflicted in talking about Norway, because I want to say Nyland was the best player on the park, but then they were fully deserving of of beating Brazil at the same time. So listen, Brazil didn't have their moments.
And behind him, the whole backline held its shape, soaking up wave after wave of pressure without cracking. Every part of the team showed up when it mattered. This win wasn't luck, it was built piece by piece for exactly this moment. Here's why nobody can deal with him. At this World Cup, 15 of his 16 shots have been first-time attempts. No setting the ball down, no extra touch to adjust, no dribbling into a better angle.
You have players that tries to do more than they're able to do. This guy is not involved. He shouldn't be involved. He's just in front waiting. He needs service, obviously. And then when the ball comes, it's one shot, one goal. Or maybe one shot, two goals.
He sees it, he hits it, and the ball's in the net before a defender's brain catches up with what just happened. There's nothing to read, because there's no build-up to read. By the time you react to the shot, it's already past you. That leaves every opponent with an impossible choice. Throw 2 or 3 defenders at Haaland, and Norway's midfield picks you apart in the space you just gave up. Because Odegaard and Berg aren't going to waste that gift, spread your attention evenly across the whole team instead, and Haaland only needs one look, one half yard, one moment where a centre-back blinks. Brazil tried both. Neither worked. Even Brazil's own players admitted it after the game. There was no hiding behind the scoreline or blaming the penalty miss. Pundits watching from the studio said flat out that Norway looked like the bigger nation on the pitch, not the 5-time champions.
At first, my initial thought was shock. My initial reaction was surprise. But slowly, as the adrenaline kind of wears off and you can really look at the scenario for what it is, this isn't a shock. This is what Brazil are now. They haven't won the World Cup for 22 years.
That's not a small thing to hear about a team that's barely been to a World Cup in 3 decades. And that shift shows up inside the Norway camp too. Players aren't talking like underdogs anymore. Ask them about the next round and you don't get the careful, grateful to be here answers you'd expect from a team with almost no tournament history. You get players saying that they don't fear anyone left in the draw. That's a completely different mentality than the one that walked into this tournament as a nice story nobody expected much from. Next up is England, confirmed after their 3-2 win over Mexico at the Azteca.
England 3, Mexico 2. To hand Mexico only their 3rd ever loss at the Azteca.
The quarter-final is set up for July 11th in Miami, and the tone coming out of the Norway camp isn't nervous. It's not hopeful underdog talk, it sounds like a team that expects to win. So go back to the question from the start, how does a nation with almost no history on this stage suddenly look unbeatable? Nobody has solved the Haaland problem yet, not Brazil, not anyone else who's faced him this tournament, but Norway didn't just find one incredible player and hope for the best. They built an entire team so they'd never have to rely on someone else solving that problem for them. Norway walked into this World Cup as a feel-good story. They're walking out of the round of 16 as a team that can beat anyone left in the competition. A country that hadn't won a single World Cup knockout game in almost 30 years, now has one of the most feared attacks in the entire tournament. If you want more World Cup breakdowns like this, subscribe and drop a comment. Who's actually stopping Haaland from here?